Now we'll see how Padre Pio actually does his meditative prayer. It's a great little book for one's spiritual life, developing one's spiritual life. So we're just going to look at the first part here, really, just to keep our video short. Padre Pio says, this is the gospel scene. Arriving at the close of his earthly life, the divine Redeemer, after having given himself to us as food and drink in the sacrament of his love, and having nourished his apostles with his body and blood, soul and divinity, went with his own to the Garden of Olives, known to the disciples, but also to Judas. What does he do along the road that leads from the cenacle, from the upper room, to the garden? Jesus teaches his disciples. He prepares them for the impending separation, for his imminent passion, and prepares them to undergo, for love of him, calumnies, persecution, and death, to fashion in themselves him who is now their model. I shall be with you, he says, and do not be troubled, O disciples, because of the divine promise it will not fail. You will have a proof of this in the present solemn hour. And he is there to begin his dolorous passion. Instead of thinking of himself, he is all anxiety for you and for me. Oh, what an immensity of love. So see here how Padre Pio is now going from the gospel scene to this flight in his soul. Oh, what an immensity of love does this heart contain. His face is covered with sadness, and at the same time with love. His words proceed from his inmost heart. He speaks with a profusion of affection, of encouragement, of comfort, and in comforting gives his promise. He explains the most profound mysteries of his passion. This journey of thine love, O Jesus, has always touched my heart with an increase of love so profound and so deep for those who love thee, with increase of love, and hurries to immolate itself for others, to ransom them from slavery. Thou hast taught that there is no greater proof of love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. And now thou art about to put the seal on the proof of thine own love. Who would not be overawed by such an oblation? And the gospel scene continues. They arrive now at the garden, and the divine master withdraws from his disciples, taking along only 3 of them, Peter, James, and John, to have them witness his sufferings. Would just these 3 who had seen him transfigured on Mount Tabor between Moses and Elias, and had confessed him to be God, would they now have the strength to acknowledge the man God in pain and mortal anguish? And so they enter the garden. And he told them, remain here, watch and pray, that you may not enter into temptation. Be on your guard. And he seems to be saying to them, because the enemy is not asleep, arm yourselves against him beforehand with the weapon of prayer, so that you may not become involved and led into sin. It is the hour of darkness. And having thus admonished them, he separates himself from them about a stone's throw and prostrates himself on the ground. So that is just the beginning of Padre Pio's meditation, his reflection on the garden on our Lord's suffering in the Garden of Gethsemane. You're very welcome to get this book from TAN. It's a TAN publication, The Agony of Jesus, if you wish to know more about Padre Pio's style of prayer, about his meditation. It's a great way to develop our own spiritual lives, of course.